Still make
Crafty
you dance, isn't it? That.
Crafty here from Aussie Craft Distillers Shooting the Shit and Craftworks. It's a big one tonight. We've got Christian from Lord Howe Distilling Co. So I'm not feeling myself tonight. You probably noticed.
No, we got the intelligent one on board tonight.
Oh, low blow. That one. If I had an arm, I'd hit you. Anyway, that's enough of the silliness. So, all right. So, as I said, Christian from Lord Howe Distilling Co. Christian, how are you, mate?
I'm good, thank you. Great to be here.
You don't want to talk to a dummy, do you? All right.
No. Well,
we're
still talking to one, but anyway.
Oh,
you walked right into that.
Someone's on fire tonight. We might have to throw someone under a bus, I think, later on.
Haven't done that in a while.
Yeah,
haven't done that for a while.
Haven't done that for a while. I still know where those keys are, though.
All right, let's crack on. So yeah, guys, we're up to episode 70. Top.
Yeah, 76.
76?
75, 76.
75, 76. So we're
in the high 70s, but not quite 80.
Not quite 80. So we're going strong.
76.
We're still young. We're still vibrant. And tonight we're going to kick on with Christian. So, Christian, mate, thank you. How are you?
Very well, very well.
Very well. And where are you?
I'm actually at my place in Annandale. My business partner and he gets the good job living on Lord Howe, right. And I get to live in Sydney, and he looks after the little island, and I look after the big island.
Very good, very good. How often do you get back there?
Generally, our family goes back for Christmas holidays and meets up with my extended family once a year. So that's generally around Christmas. And I'll get back basically just as often as needed. So that can be during COVID zero, but during our build and then, distilling, it could be, up to 4 or 5 times a year.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm going to deal with the elephant in the room. So tell us about, you're all related on that island, aren't you?
Well, number one, I need to point out that I'm not an islander. I would never profess that I am, but I've spent a good deal of my life on the island, holidaying with my family. Right. I think what you're referring to is Norfolk Island.
Or Pitcairn Island, I'd expect.
Or Pitcairn, and now it's back to Norfolk. But no, there are. Hey,
or Tasmania.
Well, it could be Tasmania as well. No. Shout out to our Tassie folks. I don't want to diss the distilling industry down there.
Pissing off the Tasmanian, so he's got a long history of picking off the Tassie.
He wonders why sales in Tassie are a bit low.
But look, there are a number of families, of sort of founding families on the island. The island was inhabited. Firstly, that the island was founded by the HMS Supply, which was one of the first fleet. So they arrived in Sydney Harbour in 1788, dropped off the convicts, and then they were sent post haste about 2 weeks later up to Norfolk to go and get the penal colony up there up and going, so they could take the worst of the worst up there. And on the way, they basically found Lord Howe. It had never been mapped. It had never been sighted before. So there you go. Right. So what you're looking at there is about 700 K, just over 700 Ks on the angle between Sydney and Lord Howe, and about 600 straight out from Port Macquarie.
Wow. So a long way from the middle of nowhere there.
Just a little bit of a swim.
And interestingly, the island has never been inhabited by Aboriginal, no Maori, no Pacifica nation of people at any stage. There is no evidence of human footprint or any remains on the island. So true, terra nullius. So it was inhabited first by whalers, or used by whalers as a stop-off when they used to whale the kill the sperm whales, and that was the fuel that everyone used before electricity. So they used to go out
just got to cut
G'day.
you for a second because my table service.
Sorry, sir. There's your whiskies.
Oh wow, that's rather impressive. So I have table service.
This is what you ordered.
Ordered
So-
or demanded?
There's a bottle in case you run out.
So tonight we'll be drinking Jones's Jones and Smith Distillery. We're here at Jones and Smith Distillery. I'll talk about it a bit later on. You going to have one with me, Tone?
I'll just do a couple of things now. I'll be back out.
Come and join
How's
me,
that
mate. That sounds good.
Righto.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
See you soon.
That's a first. Sorry, Christian. Didn't mean to cut you.
Good life for some.
Possibly going to be the last as well. Don't expect that sort of service.
No.
Peters and
No, you can't see. I'll bring it up.
No, it's good. It's good. We saw it.
we saw
All right. So carry on. Sorry, I cut you off. Carry on.
So purely whaling.
So the whalers would go out into the Pacific Ocean. They would try and whale and make as much money, kill as many whales as they could and make as much money as they can, as they could. But sometimes they were out there for so long that they didn't want to come back but they didn't have enough product that they could sell. So they didn't want to come all the way back to the mainland. So once this island was found, they used this as a base, of course, to get fresh water, but also they used it as a base to plant citrus actually on the island so that they could ward off scurvy.
The vitamin C. Yeah.
So there's actually all of this wild lemon, which is what we use in our signature gin and a lot of our products, which is their descendants about 190 years ago.
Wow.
Of those original plants. So there could have been some pomelos, there could have been some oranges and lemons. These lemons, they're bush lemons, but they're like no lemon you've ever seen before. They are bumpy. They're at the bottom of the pile in the Harris Farm ugly pile. They're really bumpy and ugly, but they have a very, very unique flavor, and the pith on them is not as bitter as your Eureka lemons as well. So they're quite usable in the juice and the zest and also the pith as well. It's all in the pot, one shot.
Wow. So do you have any plans to do a limoncello or orange cello or anything with what's on the island?
Do you know what? We've actually tried. We've attempted about 8 times, and I've brought in some experts who I won't name on the show, and they do very, very good limoncello. And we could not crack this lemon. Something about the lemon was spinning off and was not allowing it to become, a great limoncello. So we paused it. And we're going to retry this winter when the lemons come on again. But we tried it about 2 years ago in COVID. We put together probably 8 to 12 different recipes, and just it wasn't gelling, it wasn't coming together. Lots of split happening, lots of flocking. It wasn't good. So we're going to go back to the drawing board and do that this winter.
All right.
Wow.
Well, speaking of going back to the drawing board, let's go right back to the start. So, why are you distilling, and where did you start? What's your journey, mate?
The journey actually started with my wife. So, how the full journey started was my grandfather. My grandfather was a bloke by the name of Gus Fay, Claude Augustus Fay, and he was a lot like the Justin Hems of Sydney in the 60s, 70s. And he ended up with 54 bottle shops and 12 hotels. And this little mob came along called Coles Myer and said, hey, we've got this little brand called Liquorland and we want to consolidate the market. So we're going to buy you, Claude Fay Cellars, Mac the Night, and a whole bunch of others. And they did that in each state. So he he was traveling to Lord Howe in the 60s. He had 4 kids. I am the child of one of those 4 kids, and basically he brought between 25 to 30 of our family up to the island every year for a month to Pine Trees. It was the most idyllic upbringing you could ever wish for. We learnt to ride a bike on the island. You honed your prowess swimming and surfing on the island. We grew up with a bunch of islanders who were all our own age. Going to the movies, riding, and you ride bikes around the island. There are cars on the island, but tourists ride around on bikes. So you get around everywhere, and it was just a haven. It was an amazing opportunity, and we were there for a month each year for the first 24 years of my life. So that's how it started. Now, the middle of it is my wife. When my family gets together, it's all Blinky Beach this and Mount Gower that. And my wife, before her 40th, cracked the shits and said, "I'm sick to death of hearing about all these stories and whatever. I want to go to Lord Howe." So I said, "Righto, no kids, let's go. We'll go to Pine Trees." And we went, and within about an hour of landing, and we're on a bike and we're riding down the Lagoon Road, and she just punches me in the arm and said, "You have been keeping this a secret for all of these years." And and that was it. So I looked around the island and saw that there were, people were still, I hadn't been back in 20 years, and bumpy and the ugly. And I hadn't been back in 20 years, and people were, tourists and islanders alike, they're drinking Tui's New and Gordon's and Tanqueray. And I just looked around and I said, we're on arguably the most iconic island in the world. And let me just very quickly just switch my background. The most iconic island in the world.
Wow.
It's UNESCO World Heritage. And there's 114 botanicals on this island that don't occur anywhere else on the planet. So it's and I'm a marketer, product marketer by trade. And so with my connection to the island and my very good friend, Anthony Riddle, who is a 6th generation islander, we came up with a plan to start a brewery and brewing business and distilling business. So we use the botanicals, and we started before COVID, about 4 months before COVID. And to do anything at scale on the island does not make sense. So to this island right there, to give you an example, it costs $40 to ship one keg, 150-litre keg over to the island. And then to ship it back empty, it's $30. So it's $7 for a beer, right? Yeah. Luke, did you have the image of the island?
Yeah.
Can you just flick that up again? So what we do is from Port Macquarie there's a freighter that goes across every 2 weeks to the island, and then it turns around 2 days later and comes back, gets loaded, and then comes back. So what we need to do is get our pallets up from Sydney to port, and then it goes across to the island, is delivered, and then anything that needs to come back comes back. So that can be rubbish, it can be crushed glass, it could be anything. It could be cars. So when a car goes onto the island, a car needs to come off the island.
Right.
So
wow.
It's really unusual. So I guess that's the middle, and then the end is we started this business. We started in 100% contract fashion. So we started actually in Melbourne because there was not that much contract opportunity or business going on in New South Wales at that stage. We're talking 2019. If only I'd known about Crafty earlier, but we actually developed our recipe down with Craft & Co in Melbourne, and we brewed our first beer with Rocks Brewing Co in Alexandria, and we still work with Rocks Brewing Co. We work in 100% contract fashion on the mainland with Rocks and also Dad and Dave's. They've been, and we've also worked with Willie the Boatman as well, I have to say, and all of those guys, all independent, all family owned, and just rock solid partners to us, and I can't give them enough of a shout out. So very much thank you. So on the distilling side, we started there, and then during COVID, obviously we weren't able to travel, and we needed to bring the business closer. So we then worked with Ed, who you're very familiar with at OCD, Autocraft Distilling, and worked in 100% contract fashion with him. And then we bit the bullet and decided to manufacture under our own license, bought the still, and we're very lucky to be able to house our still with Ed in his new premises. So our own license and that sort of thing. And then we bottle, we manufacture, we bottle, and then everything is held off-site in a third-party warehouse. And as orders come in, they go out. So what's changed in the meantime is that we put in a DA for a distillery on the island. Now, this was a pretty huge thing, as it had never been done before. It's 600 k's out to sea. There is no, you don't own land, you lease land on the island. It's a permanent park preserve.
Right.
And, and Anthony, we're very lucky. Anthony's family, being 6 generations, they have they operate a guest house on the island, one of the larger ones, and amazing to stay at if you're ever on Lord Howe. And the name is Leander Lay. So we took over one of the Leander Lay sheds and converted it from a shed with gardening equipment and lawnmowers and all that sort of thing. And it was the old generator shed. And that's how they used to generate the power with diesel for every single property on the island. So we took that over, did some modifications, installed a still. We've got a brew deck in there. And we opened 3 months ago, and the rest is history. So that's,
now, I hope this is the right URL.
Leander Lay Leander Lay Apartments. If that's the one, yes, that's it.
Yep, beautiful, awesome. I'll post that in for people playing at home.
Amazing.
You got that one right.
I got that one right. Fuck up everything else.
So
that's funny.
So we started in 2019. Here's something that's going to blow your mind. On the island operates like Norfolk as well. I have to say, there's 2 islands that operate like this in Australia, and they operate something like Sydney did in 1790. So any alcohol for resale on Lord Howe, so if you're a bar or restaurant or club, any alcohol that you are reselling to a consumer, you must buy through the Lord Howe Island Board, the government. So if you're an islander at home, or you're a tourist at home at Leander Lay or wherever, and you want to just kick back on the couch and have a beer, you can order it via Dan Murphy's, and it can be delivered in 2 weeks later on the next ship, and you can do that and have that at home, or you can purchase through the liquor store just down the road. But businesses must buy their liquor for resale, and there is a small clip that the board puts on to upkeep roads. They service the barbecue areas. They do a range of things. And that helps the island sort of keep on ticking over.
Right.
So
not only are you paying excise, but you're also paying local tax as well on your dram. Wow.
Correct. Well, and when I say we, I mean you. So
Yeah.
yes, so we sell it to the government or the board, and the board then apply their margin and a small tax, and you can go in and purchase your products. So we actually had, up until very recently, we had one customer on the island. We had done all of our sales through one customer, and of course, Anthony then and myself, we work with the golf club and the bowling club and Anchorage restaurants and Pine Trees, etc. And we make sure that they're aware of the product, any new products coming. We do all the sales, service and all that sort of thing. But all of their purchasing comes through the board.
Through that one. Wow, that's fascinating.
It's a different sort of thing. And speaking of different sort of things, so you're a major sponsor of the Waratahs, and Todd's got a little story about just how effective your advertising is.
Lukey, I just sent you. Craig's jumped the gun a bit. I just sent you a photograph that I took while I was sitting there, enjoying the ambience of this stadium, and this bloody ad just kept popping up. About every 5 seconds, boom, there's this ad again. And
are you going to show it, Luke?
To show everyone?
Let me very quickly try and upload this thing that I've just been flicked.
There's a very funny story about this, actually, on this particular game that you were at, Todd. And so we've sponsored the. I'm a rugby diehard. Anthony played some grade. And was a very good rugby player. Me not so much. I just love it. But my family's been in rugby. My uncle Garrick Fay was a Waratah and a Wallaby in the 70s, and our markets are actually quite similar in the rugby crowd and tourists to the island. So it seemed to be a good fit, and we. Are in our third year of the contract, and we started at Leichhardt Oval. We also do a Waratahs gin for them, and the signature gin and we make it with Waratah flour. And my checking or my understanding is that we were the first distiller to use Waratah flour, and I'm happy to be corrected if I'm wrong, but if we weren't the first, but on my checking that was what I could find. So when you sponsor, there's usually some cash and contra and all that sort of stuff, and with it comes the LED banners around the ground. So at this particular match that Todd was at, there was a glitch in the system, and
I think we were playing the Blues, weren't we, that day, or getting taught a lesson by the Blues.
Oh, mate, but we did pretty well in that.
We did pretty well, better than last weekend, but anyway.
Oh, it was a shocker. So our banner was at the north and south end there, and you had Stan Sport and I think one other, in the various echelons of the stadium, and you usually get your 10 seconds or 15 seconds. I can't remember what it is, and then it rotates into another sponsor. Anyway, there's a glitch in the system. And we got rotated on ourselves for 35 minutes, almost a full half. And obviously when the Waratahs found out,
you saw that and the major sponsor over and over and over. I went, how on earth has this guy been able to afford this? Boy, they must sell a lot of gin.
You must have got 5 years sponsorship in that one night.
It was about 5 years worth of eyeballs in one night. So the sales up.
I was going to say, Christian, they seem to make up for it last weekend, because I think I only saw your ad once.
You weren't looking hard enough.
Oh,
and it was just constantly Lord turn around. Yeah, just Lord Howe.
That's brilliant.
So, I've never seen anything like it before, but I tell you what, I'll take the win, no problem.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But purchase for the little guy are good.
Yeah, absolutely. So we also make I pitched to them a Navy strength as well, and I came up with the name Scrum Strength for obvious reasons. but
Nice.
57% as a Navy strength. It just 57 and scrum and I was racking my brain, and as the marketer I am, I just went 57. No, 58, because there's 5 in the tight 5 and there's 8 in the full pack, and they lost it. They absolutely loved it, and we went to market with it. So we've got a signature and a scrum strength, and I don't know about for you guys, but for every 10 bottles you sell of a standard strength, 40, 41, whatever it is, the Navy strength is going to do 1 or 2 bottles roughly, for us anyway. Anyway,
not so much lately.
You're selling a fair bit of
A lot of Navy.
Yeah, right. Okay. He's going to get.
So when we released this scrum strength, we for every there you go, amazing.
Nice.
So for every 10 signature, we sold 8 to 9 bottles of the scrum strength.
Wow.
And I think it was just every single forward and prop and second rower just said, well, I can't possibly have the signature. I've got to go for I was in the scrum. I got to have scrum strength. And it did really well. It worked really well. So great feedback from it.
It's really cool when you have something like that. Todd, talk about I smell bacon.
I smell bacon in what sense?
The concept of a whiskey and I smell bacon and your daughter.
Oh yeah, every time my daughter's in the New South Wales Police, and every time I pass a cop car, I go, I smell bacon, and then she punches me in the shoulder. So anyway, we were playing around with some smoked grain, and the shed smelled like smoked bacon. And I said, we need to call this whiskey I Smell Bacon. And I put it to my daughter, and my daughter went and told all of her friends at the police, and they loved the idea. They would absolutely come by I Smell Bacon.
Yeah, it comes. It all it takes is one good idea, and it really resonates with a particular crowd or a particular market. It's lots of fun.
It is. I got a story. I was telling Tony about it. So I was at my local barber. Been going there a number of years, and getting a haircut. Don't know why I bother, but anyway, I was getting a haircut, and it's an old school,
a haircut. Was that
a haircut? Exactly.
You say it slow enough, it's about right.
Yeah, right. Okay, keep moving. And it's an American-style old barber, and they've got all these old African-American political photos. It's really quite edgy, and the place is called 18 Bones. So I was talking to one of the barbers, and he goes, what do you actually do? And I said, oh, I'm a distiller. And he goes, oh, Bruce, the owner, he loves gin. And I go, oh, yeah, no, I got a gin. I do a little gin. And he goes, oh, I said, I'll drop a bottle off. He goes, oh, Bruce would love that. So I went home and just got a bottle of Cape gin. But then I thought, no, I'm going to step it up a bit. So I got on my little commercial printer at home. I ripped an image off their website, played around with the label design, called it Barber Cut Gin.
Oh, nice. Oh, nice.
Got it. Slapped the cut on, took it bottle down. And I said, look, this is just my standard gin, but have a look. And they saw the 18 Bones logo and Barber Cut Gin, and they wet themselves, absolutely wet themselves. So they said, oh, I'm going to go around to Bruce. I'm going to take it over tonight. And nothing happened for a couple of days, and I wasn't fussed. I was going to go back in. And then I got a phone call, and he goes, Bruce loves it. Bruce wants to do something. What do you need? So I'll get a little thing out of it. Bottle 100 bottles or whatever. 18 cut Barber Cut Gin.
Well, I think for Barber Cut, so you've got your standard, you've got your Navy, you've got your cask or distiller strength. For Barber's Cut, because they're razoring, this bit and this bit here, and they're doing with the cutthroat, they need to be using this gin. And
oh yeah, Oh,
I think you need to be looking at 80% minimum.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the barber shop, they're going, "Do you want aftershave or do you want the gin? What do you want?"
Belston Park will never have smelt so good and had so much screaming as it applied.
But don't you love shit like that, Christian? Just an idea becomes project becomes a reality, and you're off.
Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. We did a recently. So we've got another business name. We didn't want to put Lord Howe on everything we do, but we've got another business called Craft Foundry, and we do bespoke, small batch, distills and same thing, bespoke labels and really try and hone in on someone's idea and what they want to bring to life. So we brew and distill with different labels. And we've just done one recently for the Frensham School, which is a private school down in the Southern Highlands. And they really wanted to raise some money for the alumni. And generally, we work with alumni. That's it. And they have this special place on the grounds called Birthday Island. And it's this tiny little island in between two streams or creeks. And it's where you as a young girl would go on your birthday, and your friends would take you there. And it's something that is ingrained in every old girl's memory. So we called this this gin Birthday Island gin, and they sold many bottles. But what they do is they usually have a back to other schools have a back to Newington Day or whatever. But we did it at the country fair, and it was very, very popular. Very popular. And one of the things we do is the old girls, there's lots of people that own farms, and we work with them to get the citrus and other botanicals from the farms, and they send it all to us in Sydney, and we do a very small batch of that and then add that to a larger base gin that we have across our whole business. So there is literally a piece of Frensham girls, old girls, in every single gin. Really cool.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool. I remember when you came out with, was it the Leichhardt gin or you did a suburb
gin? So I live in Annandale, and
Annandale.
And it was called, we named it Ginendale.
That's right, Ginendale.
And it was it was through COVID, and everyone was in lockdown, and it's all about support small business and blah blah blah. And I just said, went on our local Facebook page. There's about 7,000 people on there. I said, hey, it's Christian from the Hood. I also am a distiller. Would anyone be interested if we did a local gin using? And we've got a food forest in a park that is maintained by a local group, the Whites Creek Friends of Whites Creek.
It's a beautiful park.
Hey,
it's a beautiful park. That one, it's gorgeous.
Beautiful park, and they've planted like little strawberry plants, and so kids will come along in, I don't know, whatever strawberry season is, and they'll come along and they're just able to just pick one up and just eat it. Like, it's really cool. So anyway, we went and picked all sorts of botanicals from the park. Pineapple sage, Australian native lemongrass. There was a Seville orange in there as well, and a couple of other things. And we made it, and we ended up selling 600 bottles to Annandale locals. It went absolutely bananas. We put it in the Australian Gin Awards. It won a silver medal, and it was absolutely fabulous.
Wow.
So yeah, really, and we've done a second one, we've done a third one, and that they go very well. Obviously, people are parochial. They really want to support their local business and have a great gin at the same time, and a great story as well. And sorry, I should mention that a percentage of the sale, out of that sale, so $20 per bottle, went back to the Whites Creek Friends of Whites Creek guys, and so
Yeah,
they
right.
were able to buy new soil, new shovels, new bits and pieces for the gardens, and that was really great.
It's an awesome fundraiser as well.
So I guess that's pretty well your excise, and a little bit under your excise, isn't it, per bottle?
But no, no, we're making over. We sell them for $89.
No. I mean, so what's excise? What's like excise on a bottle of gin nowadays? Just
it's about $28.
Yeah. So you're interesting.
Except at the scrum strap, a little bit higher there.
Yeah. So 58. It's what is it, like 30, 38 or 30, 36 or something like that.
Why did you open up Adobe Acrobat? Hang on. Shut that down.
See, this is what we have to deal with. He's on his phone and still something happens.
You want to? I'll put him back.
Yeah.
Been improvement. Now, one thing we didn't do before we started is
what are we drinking?
What are we all drinking?
Yeah.
Christian, what's in your glass?
So I'm drinking. So my wife just came back. So I was drinking before. We've got a brand new. Sorry, can I? It's clear.
Clear glass or something.
It's clear, and that's our brewing. That's our brewing logo. But it's a. So I was drinking before our new Mountain Rose. So this is a new gin. It's based on Waratah, on the Waratah gin, which is a silver medal winner. And then we use Mountain Rose, which is a cousin of the Pahudakawa in New Zealand. So it's the New Zealand Maori Christmas bush.
Yep. No, well,
it's a cousin of that, but it's endemic to the island. There's two species. One species lives up to about 400 meters, and the other one, the only place in the entire world you can get it, is between 400 meters and about 875, which is the top of Gower. So this plant goes into the product and then obviously adds to the color as well. So it's a pink gin, brand new as of just shipped last week. We launched it earlier in the year, but it actually shipped just last week, and it's an absolute cracker. What I am drinking now is my wife came back from San Francisco for work. She was there for about a week. She came back with 2 bottles of gin. One of them is a mob called Pacific House. And this Pacific House gin, great bottle, great label, lots of gold foil and all that sort of thing. Very old school, maybe a bit Hamptons-y sort of thing, but obviously from San Francisco. Really good. Very clean. Little bit of, I think they've got some kelp in there as well. Very similar to what we're doing on the island, using what's available: sea grapes, kelp, all of these sorts of things.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, we'll say what we're drinking. So I'm partaking in Jones and Smith Distillery Flight, and this is the flight at the pub/distillery cellar door. So we've got a classic collection at 49.4%, a signature series at 52.9%, and a distiller's release at 54.3%. Yep. So just quickly, Tone, what are they?
The first one's French Burgundy barrel.
French Burgundy barrel.
And I had Frenchmen in drinking it the other day, and there's no such thing as Burgundy in France. They call it something else that's completely doesn't sound like Burgundy.
Right, yeah.
They said only you Aussies call it Burgundy. So anyway, French Burgundy barrel, it's about 5 years in the barrel.
Right.
The second one is a Jim Beam Black Label barrel.
That's the signature series, 52.9. Yeah.
And 52.9.
And the distillers?
The distiller's release is a French Tawny barrel.
Very nice.
And it's 54.3, I think. 54.3. I only released it not so long ago.
Very nice.
And yeah.
We had, just for those who don't know, we had Tony on from Jones and Smith about a month, maybe 2 months ago.
There'd be
Longer,
more,
more.
a year
Be
ago.
longer now.
Last year sometime, dude.
Oh, bloody hell. Geez, time does fly.
Mm.
So, yeah, a return.
Yeah, see you, Mitch. Thanks, mate.
See you guys.
See you, mate.
So,
Yeah, John Smith was back in February of 2023, episode
Jeez,
46.
I seriously thought it was like 6 months ago. Man.
Over a year ago.
Oh, God. All right. So, Todd, what do you got?
So I've got Whiskey in Isolation. What is it? Garden of Temptation.
Oh, the latest release from Justin.
Latest release.
Indie Bottling.
And it's a double sherry cask French oak Hera into a American oak Oloroso, finished in virgin oak to finish.
And we had Justin on.
Quite spicy.
We had Justin on about 7 years ago. Is that right? Have I got that right?
No, that was about two episodes ago.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Okay. All right.
So, Under Temptation, that one, Todd, make sure you don't drink all that. I want to try it.
Yeah.
So I am drinking
Oh, the staple.
a King Lake, but this is the Whiskey Club release, which is
The
the
single
700
malt whiskey.
bottle. Single malt whiskey
Brad
club.
White?
Brad's release, yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's the O'Grady stand in a Chardonnay barrel,
Okay.
which is really yummy, and in a 700ml bottle rather than the regular 500ml bottle.
500. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying that.
And we had King Lake on 270 years ago?
Thereabouts indeed, yeah. I'm putting up the links to Jones and Smith, and I've put up the link to the Whiskey in Isolation as well for those playing at home.
There you go.
Cool.
To try them.
Cool. And while I'm here, I've got to do a plug. So I'm staying at Tony's tonight, and we're going to hit the shed tomorrow. I haven't been to Tony's distillery. He's been to mine. But it's the first time I've been in the cellar door and pub. And guys, if anyone's traveling from Bathurst to Orange, you'll go straight through Lucknow. You can't miss it. You cannot miss it. Seriously, you got to come in here. It's a fun spot.
Yeah.
And he agrees.
It's fun when I'm home.
Yeah.
No, it is that everyone enjoys himself here, so it's good.
It's got great atmosphere.
We'll have to stop in. So heading back to the islands.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when everything's having to come in, lights are out there, by boat, and there's limits on what you can bring in, obviously limits in how you handle your waste and everything.
Yeah.
How does that impact your decision-making process in what you create, and then how you go to create it? Obviously, now that you've got your still on site and you're going to start creating on site, what sort of challenges do you think what challenges, unforeseen challenges already have you come across that you've had to overcome?
So I'll give you an example. We've got a very fragile ecosystem over there. We've got animals on the island, one of which is that little guy there, which is the Lord Howe Island wood hen. And I'm going to rattle off a few animals here. And Luke, if you're able to procure a picture, and
I'm going to do it as quickly as I possibly can.
Amazing. Wood henning as we speak.
So we've got flora and fauna that doesn't occur anywhere else on the planet. So we need to be really careful about products that are brought in, products that could potentially get wild. So this is the Lord Howe Island wood hen. It's a little bit like the New Zealand weka. And there were at one stage, I think it was 28, maybe 24 or 28 breeding pairs in the 1980s. Now, and one thing I'll mention before we go any further is that in 1918 there was a shipwreck just off the island, and rats came ashore as well as the survivors. And rats, within 5 years, had wiped out whole bird species off the planet.
Wow.
Insects, birds, plants. So it had been up until 2019, until there was a rat eradication program, which was, I think, 10 years in the making, or 15 years in the making. And they essentially dropped a whole lot of blood thinner, amongst other things, lots and lots of bait traps all over the island. It was the first time a rat eradication program had been done on a human inhabited island. It's been done in the Arctic Ocean, Southern Ocean, on a couple of islands to get rid of them, and this happened in 2019. It was incredible. So it was like something post-apocalyptic, with rat traps every 5 meters in the inhabited areas. Dogs were chained up, making sure kids were not, or young kids were not out able to go and eat the rat poison. Wood hens were all rounded up. Every single wood hen on the island was rounded up and put in a cage for 6 months, more than 6 months. The Lord Howe Island Currawong was rounded up. They were all put in cages as well because they're so fragile and so few. And then they basically baited in a chopper, in a hopper, which spun these pellets out across the national park area. And undoubtedly there was some bycatch in there, but it was a resounding success. And there is not one rodent on the island anymore.
Wow. So then there must be some pretty strict bio controls for all incoming cargo ships and domestic and planes as well. Wow.
So what about barrels and grain and at that, well, you got the potential for bugs and all sorts of things coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have certainly the rodents are one thing. Bugs are sort of different. We are, of course, coming from New South Wales, so New South Wales is fairly safe already. But extra checks that are taken are so when you get off the plane, there is a foot bath where when you go on a walk, on a hike or whatever, and they've got those scrubbers on your feet, and you basically give it a scrub before you go in. But also going into the actual park area, there's the sort of the town area, and then there's a park area, and then there's further scrubbers as well. So you're not bringing anything outside, even from the island. Into those areas as well. So that's one thing. The other thing is the biosecurity dogs. So these are fantastic little beagles. I think they're not beagles. I think they're beagles. But they are at Port Macquarie. So everything getting loaded onto the ship is sniffed down by a dog, and then everything coming off the ship sniffed down by a dog. Anything that is, I don't know, basically you could put your thumb into, any opening that is bigger than that must be taped, or maybe it's your little finger. Anything, any smaller opening than that has to be taped closed to go onto the boat. So when we were bringing it across our still, it was all nice because it was all packaged up and everything. So that was all cool. But if you're looking at, say, tanks, so stainless tanks, sometimes they're not packaged up. They're not boarded up. They're actually, what you see is what you get. And they can have little areas where something might be able to jump in and stow away.
Wow.
So yes, very, very strict. And the abundance of life. I can't even explain it. My explanation is not good enough. But the explosion of life after the rat eradication program has been insane. Bugs, so insects, plants. So there were plants. There's a plant on the island. Oh yeah. So this guy's amazing. This is the Lord Howe Island phasmid. It's a stick insect.
Right.
It's also the name of our first beer, the phasmid.
Looks like it'll take your fucking arm off.
That's.
Well, it is big.
I wonder where the name come from, because I saw it and thought, cool name, but what does it mean? Now I get it.
Well, a phasmid is a type of bug.
Right.
It's a I don't know, a genus or whatever it is. So this only eats a particular type of Melaleuca on the island, and they found that the rats got rid of them on the island in probably by 1925, and two blokes in 2001 were climbing Ball's Pyramid, which is about 20 k's offshore. It's the world's tallest sea stack. And they were up there and they saw these exoskeletons. These guys shed their skin just like a crab. And they found these two and they said, these can't have been here for the last 70 years. And they went, hang on, we should do a bit of a closer inspection. They found about 17 live ones. 24 maybe, can't remember. And they then came back in, I think, 2002, 2003, and they went, righto, we're going to take some and we're going to send them down to the zoo. We're going to study them. We're going to breed them. We're going to get them back. This is the world's rarest insect. Legit.
And
Wow.
have you considered crushing it up and putting it into gin, like fire ant gin? No?
Look, we haven't been able to get our hands on it, and it's generally not in our company DNA to go and put animals in there. But look, there might be something there. You're right.
Maybe the exoskeletons. Maybe the shedded exoskeleton would be
very limited release. Put it that way.
Yeah, very limited.
Very limited release. So just so you understand, these have not been reintroduced onto the island just yet.
Right.
So that there is a plan to. The first thing they're going to do is put it onto Rabbit Island, which is the tiny little island in the middle of the lagoon, and they're going to watch how that goes, and then they're going to reintroduce them onto the main island. But yeah, really cool, amazing story.
Well, if you're not into bugs, don't go to that little island when you visit Lord Howe.
Yeah.
I mean,
or the sea stack for that matter.
Yeah.
Or the sea stack. But they found the Lord Howe Island cockroach just last year. They thought it had been extinct for over 70 years, but they found it again.
Well, they probably tried.
So I think on our beers, we generally have animals. So we deal with the fauna on our beers and the flora on our spirit.
That makes sense. So obviously you've got the brewing, you've got the gin. Will you be moving into whiskies and rums and dark spirits in the near future?
Very good question. Very good question. So it's been very secret, Squirrel, but we are 2.25 years into our first whiskey. So it's we distilled it on the mainland. Yep. I am not a whiskey connoisseur. I'm a rum guy, but I was outvoted by my wife, who is a Chinese Malaysian. So you can imagine what the Asian population, they love their whiskeys. And
I'd also imagine your ability to win an argument there as well is quite limited.
Particularly with the 5 languages she knows as well. It's not a good. Yeah. And look, Anthony, my business partner, is a whiskey guy as well. And I was outvoted, so it was whiskey down first. Yep. We've worked with Ed. I'm a gin guy, and I love the process of recipe creation. And particularly with these 114 botanicals that we've got, access that we work with the island board and the national parks and also marine parks. to be able to access these botanicals and use for our R&D as well as commercial purposes as well. So we've got to be really careful and work really closely with those guys. But in answer to your question, first whiskey is down. Rum is very close to being down. And whilst we've made the first batches here on the mainland, we expect to be starting that up on the island, as in going from scratch on the island. But at the moment, obviously, just to get a bit of scale, it makes way more sense to do it here on the mainland, but then ship to the island and age on the island. And when we're talking about casks, we all know about the angel share.
Yep.
Going out.
Of course.
You also get stuff coming in as well. So you get that wonderful island air, that sea breeze, that salty spray. We're not even sure. I mean, we've been doing some tasting, not too much, of course, but it's coming out absolutely fantastic. We use export French oak, and it's just classic. It's amazing. And again, we work with a great cooper who you, I'm sure, know, Andrew Young in South Australia. And what we do hope, we're going to be launching a program soon. So you know what? Why don't we launch it here? We're launching a program where you can come as a distiller or a brewer to Lord Howe, lay down a batch on our gear as a collab with us. We'll introduce you to our botanicals that we've got. You introduce us to your expertise and your skill. And there's, I'm certainly not the most skilled guy out there. I know what I know, and there's always a chance to learn. But you get to come and have a holiday on Lord Howe. You lay down a batch with us, and you get to write it off on your business because it's research and development. Come and learn about 114 botanicals that don't occur anywhere else on the planet.
Done. We're there.
That sounds amazing.
Hey, before we go any further, I got some very sad news. So that's my bobblehead, and I just snapped my hand.
Oh.
No, but it gets worse. I snapped my hand.
At least it wasn't your right hand.
No, well, yeah, I can still do something with it. But
he's left-handed though.
I snapped my hand, but I've also snapped my thumb, and I've lost my thumb. I've got my hand, but it doesn't have a thumb.
What do you like? You are outrageous.
No, it's you know what? I've got here's a secret. Here's a secret, Christian. A bobblehead on a market stall attracts kids. Kids drag their dads and their mums over. It works.
Crafty marketing 101.
Yeah.
This is the better looking one.
Be careful with the head. So yeah, actually, I got to tell the whole story. So last year we were doing the Australian Whiskey Show. That's right. It was the ADA one, right? And I said to Todd, we've got to do something different just to stand out. So we went in overalls, right? Hillbilly overalls,
which aren't overly flattering for some of us of a more.
We're even tight in the mid region.
The less svelte of us.
Mm-hmm. The more rotund.
Let's face it, this is not a good impersonation of my side profile.
Show the ass, Todd. Show the ass. Look at my ass.
There isn't one.
So, but what happened? I ordered 2 bobbleheads, right? And what you do is you send photos, and they create the face, and they send you the face, and you go, oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, okay, I like that, right? Then I sent them, and I wanted 2 bobbleheads, one Todd and one me, right? Luke was going to have one, but he didn't in the end. And what happened is they turned up at different times, and they had made them in different Chinese factories. This one, they stuck. No, it gets worse. They stuck mine on the.
Mine's on a nice round one.
And
Wow.
this thing's
Hang on. That love heart might be a proposition from
Craftworks distillery around it. It looks really good.
a young lady.
I also just noticed, is that hair down the back underneath the That's definitely unrealistic.
That's not me. So, but what was worse is this one.
Goofy look on his face, though. That was pretty classic. That worked well.
I look stoned. I look absolutely stoned. Hello, but
He's got that sort of look that you know what he's done with his left hand. That's what
so. This one is huge compared to Todd. They were meant to be the same size.
Yeah, you got ripped off, Todd.
Quality.
Yeah. So I wrote to them, and
I look like the slim, sexy one for a change, and he's the fat oompa that's
Oh, it was a joke. It was like 2 months and a week before. No, a couple of days. Yeah, exactly. 2 days. It came before the conference. And I wrote to them and I sent them photos, I put them side by side and said, I don't think you've done a good job here. So they did another one and they put it on the correct base, not the love base. And it's the same size. So this is my freebie because they didn't charge me again.
That's
so
your
this is my
trap.
market one.
God.
Anyway, but I've got no thumb now. I got a
So we're
hand.
supposed to be interviewing Christian, not your bloody left hand.
I know.
Not
I've
your
only
left hand.
I've only had 3 whiskeys, so sorry, Christian.
No.
So we've had some questions come in. Why don't we move on to those?
No.
Okay.
No, it's
So
not.
the Ian, is the trade-off holiday open to samplers? So as in people who are wanting to sample or wanting to bring some samples to show off what they're producing. Could be a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Ian's in the industry, isn't he?
And also,
I mean, they're welcome to come, but we will hook them up with the right place to stay, and let's go out with Anthony. Anthony also runs a glass bottom boat business called Marina Adventures, so he'll take you out. You go snorkeling, you swim with the turtles, you go and look at all the amazing bird life. There's lunches that you can have over in North Bay. It's fabulous. It's a great day out, or great few hours out. So we can organize everything for them. I guess there will be an element of and we haven't got all the sort of numbers together, but you do also realize that you're also dealing with probably Qantas's most profitable route that they operate in the world. So to get to
because they include engines? Is that because they include working engines?
Well, not always. So there's to get to the island runway is only so long. I can't remember the length of it, but there's only a certain amount of planes that can land on this thing, and then commercial is even smaller. So Qantas operates
888 meters, just for those who are interested.
How long?
888 meters.
888. All right. So one of the planes so when you go to Armidale or Tamworth or somewhere like that, you'll likely to get a Dash 8 400. They won't stop and they'll go off into the cow paddock or into the ocean. So they operate a Dash 8 200, which you get up in a lot of the Canadian very small communities and up into the Inuit territories up there as well. But Dash 8 200, 36 seats. There's about 6 seats that are not used because of weight restrictions, because otherwise it will not be able to stop or not be able to lift off in time. So it gives you about 28 usable. And then you've got exit row stuff happening and all that sort of thing. You've got about 28 usable. It will cost you, I'm not joking, $1,500 return, 600 Ks out to sea.
I mean,
Wow.
it'd be a bit of a otherwise, wouldn't it?
And I just looked. And I just looked a couple of days ago because I chances are I need to go next week. $1,791 return.
Fuck.
You really good news is
fly for that and rack up those miles.
So the really good news is that frequent flyers are redeemed and earned on miles, Ks. So to get over there on a frequent flyer seat is only 8,000 points.
Huh. Loophole.
Yeah. Can you go across on the cargo ship, the ferry ships?
You can't go across on the cargo ship. There are certain people that I think islanders can, if they're accompanying, I don't know, livestock or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't even think they do do they do livestock? Because they have to, or whatever it is, or a certain product or asset. But you can sail over there. But it is quite treacherous. It doesn't look that far out, but it is quite a treacherous run. But it is something I've always wanted to do. I've never done it. But you've got the Eastern Australian current that comes right down there, and also swirls around Lord Howe. So it is quite treacherous. There's a yacht race from the Gosford to Lord Howe that ran for many decades. And due to insurance reasons, I think they've stopped it. So quite dangerous.
Wow. All right, moving back to other questions now. Ian says he's actually not in the industry, just a passionate enthusiast.
Where you from, Ian? Tell us where you're from.
Yep, more information. Now, he did actually ask, which is a really interesting question, what about yeasts? Your local yeasty business. What about yeast that is used in the Lord Howe production? Are these local to the island, or are they introduced? So your bio.
That is a really good question, and that is one of the reasons, not the only reason, but is one of the reasons why we did not start brewing on the island in 2019. There's a whole range of reasons, and then COVID came along and would have killed us in seconds anyway. But certainly live yeast, we would never bring a live yeast. I don't think I would feel comfortable bringing a live yeast onto the island.
Yep.
So we would bring, powdered yeast that is dormant.
Yep.
We are anticipating starting to brew as soon as next week. Maybe a little bit later, but we're anticipating that. We use basically all the general yeasts that are used in brewing.
Right.
There is, I think, though, an opportunity for looking at, and I am absolutely not an expert in this, is what wild yeasts are on the island, and actually creating a brew using wild yeasts that are found on the island, and how do you capture that? How do you grow it? How do you cultivate it? And then that could be something that is available not only on the island.
You need to get in contact with one of our sponsors.
Mogwai.
Yeah.
Mogwai
Mogwai in New South Wales will basically come out and wrangle your wild yeast and cultivate it and work out exactly what you've got. He's pretty much a one-man band. Definitely getting
built up to a viable amount as well. So you help you build enough to do a brew.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's liquid yeast, so it's in sealed containers. It's transportable. Where is he? We should get him on to say something. But
back to so for those playing along at home, back to episode 67, where we spoke to Josh from Mogwai about all things yeasty, and I'm sure he'd be up for a trip to Lord Howe. That for somebody as fascinated by local yeasts as he is, I reckon that would represent a fairly unique opportunity to, see what's out in the middle of nowhere.
Super. super
Definitely get in touch.
amazing opportunity. And the other thing is, we've worked with honey from the island. So obviously you've got all these botanicals that are super unique and don't occur anywhere else. But then you've got all these bees that are making honey from all this nectar from these plants that don't occur anywhere else. And we're using that in gin. We've used some in beer. And we're also looking at and we've created. We announced about a month ago. We created another brand which is not distilling or not involved in the beverage business, but Lord Howe Island Perfumery. So obviously using the really unique plants that we've got here, distilling them down. So we're still using the distilling practice and the operation, but we're creating really nice, beautiful botanical mists, perfumes, and then when you're looking at perfume and eau de toilette and all the rest of them, depending on the alcohol percentage, you're dealing with ethanol. So it's a really good fit. And like with gin, we haven't launched it on the island yet. You can come in and book your gin flights. Talk with either myself or Anthony. Anthony lives there most of the time, so you'll most likely get Anthony. But gin making, so again, come in, learn about the botanicals, weigh them out, put them in your still, distill it. 40 minutes later, you've got Crafty's gin number 1, from the island. Bottle it, label it, take it away with your family and friends. So that's what we will do. So that's coming later this year. And we're also doing, and you'll also be able to do that with our perfume business as well. So grab the girls. It can be a generational thing. So Lord Howe is very famous for these generational holidays. It's grandma, it's daughter, and it's now granddaughter. And come in and make your own Lord Howe spray, facial mist sort of thing, beautiful botanical mist, or perfume.
Yeah, I remember many years ago talking to Cameron Symes from Great Southern Distilling Co. So Lime Burners, Corongarup, University, and he did a perfumery course, and he said it gave him a very different insight into gin making. There's a lot of crossover between the two, isn't there?
A lot of crossover. I've learned. I don't know anything about it, but what I have learned is and because you're now dealing with skin and not healthcare, but you're dealing with cosmetic industry. There are huge regulations around this this industry, and being certified, making sure that you've got the right ingredients and you're doing the right things. Is another level. So we've obviously got all the safety stuff that we need to deal with in our distilling industry, and to be safe, to store safe, to handle safe. This is yet again another thing, because this is going on skin. It can burn. It can do all sorts of things.
Yeah, wow.
Can I just
you just like coming up with ideas and then figuring out another way to use what you've got, don't you?
I have to say again, I'm a marketing guy, and when there's you look at I think we all do this, right? You either look for an industry or a market that is heavily you've got so many competitors that it just doesn't matter. Anyone can make a buck. You can launch a product. There's no brand loyalty. You just go here, and here, and you can forge a path for your brand. Or you actually find an area of the market that there is an absolute gap. There is nothing, and there is a really, really unique opportunity, and with a unique selling proposition. And I think certainly for Lord Howe, with this amazing island that we've got, Anthony's passion for the island. You can tell I'm a passionate guy about the island. It is just an extraordinary place out in the middle of the ocean, and a place that David Attenborough has commented on that is so extraordinary that it's almost unbelievable that it hasn't been touched by and overworked and spoiled by humans. But the islanders do an amazing job of caretaking, which their families have been doing since the 1830s, 40s. And they do an amazing job in conjunction, obviously, more recently with the government and the island board. But the islanders, they're the ones we've got to thank for this beautiful island.
Okay. What I wanted to touch on, because I think you're in such a unique position there, is just the concept of terroir. You're in such a unique climate. There's nothing else like it. With coastal influence, with some altitude. Have you got any plans to explore that concept by filling barrels on the mainland and taking them across to Lord Howe and comparing them and comparing temperatures and pressures and everything else, and what sort of whiskies develop? I just to add to that, I remember talking to Jim McEwen from Brook Laddie many, many years ago, and he was saying that one of the aspects of the Brook Laddie whiskey had a real citrus element, and he believed it, and I cannot remember how he explained it exactly to me, but it was basically a lemon flavored development which came from the coastal influence of the salt laden air and how it cut the whiskey in the barrel, and that was just mind blowing. So I mean, the exposure that your casks would have, and against something on the mainland at a different altitude and everything else, it'd be a fascinating, absolutely fascinating comparison.
Well, you talk about different altitude. I don't know if you're talking about. Hang on. I don't know if you're talking about putting a cask up there.
You've got helicopters, haven't you?
Yeah, we do, but I'm not sure whether we'd be allowed to do that. but you've touched on a really interesting point, because we are exploring. We've talked about for 2 years now, but it's the way that it's actually done. So in the old days, every single guest house on the island used to have their own shed for power generation. So it'd be a diesel power generator, and the lines would go up and it'd go out and power your power the guest house and rooms and everything. There's no town water either. Everything is in your own water tanks, like in the country, regional areas, and it comes off your roof with the rain. So to do anything on the island at scale, it's ludicrous, because there's not. When I came back in January, I was away for 2 weeks, and basically all of the and I went back, all of the water tanks had gone to basically critical level. They were importing water on the ship.
Wow.
Right. So we talk about drought over here, mate. All the weather system does is just move over the island, and it's screwed, right? So in the old days, you used to have water tanks, but those water tanks used to be like those in-ground pools of concrete, right? So they're in the ground. And then when plastics came along, they just went, well, we'll just whack up a plastic tank, and it's one of those ones you see, on Impaja with the Alice Springs, water tank company, and they're just the 30,000, 40,000 litre tanks, and you just plonk them on the ground, level it, plonk them on the ground, and start filling it off your roof. So once they came along, basically all of these in-ground pools were not used. So these are all over the island. We've been looking at one just down the hill from our distillery to fit out as a barrel room.
Yeah, cool.
So this is a cask room that we would put a gantry across. We would load it in a sling. We'd push it in. You'd lower it down, and then you'd push it into the bed. The racking that you would have in there. But this is a really, really big job. This is the job we did on the shed. And the hoops we needed to go through, the red tape, all of that sort of stuff is one thing. This is like epic level. So we don't have a big space because property premises on the island are few and far between. Right. We've used Anthony's. We looked for probably a year and a half for buildings on the island, working with the board, trying to find a building that would be sufficient, and there wasn't anything. So we repurposed something on their family's land. But yes, going back to what you're talking about, Crafty, I would be infinitely interested in doing this, working out what's going on with those. And you know what? Bury a cask. Fill it up, put soil on it, and just let it age for 3 years.
Yeah.
See how that goes.
But you said that your first whiskies were made on the mainland, and then you've taken the barrels across. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
So they've been sitting on a boat for 600 kilometers, going all over the place. So that's
exactly. No. Sorry. We shipped them separate. So they were in. It wasn't an IBC. It was smaller than IBC. Yeah, right. Or in containers. It's too risky, and even the we work with HMS. So I'll segue here for a second. We work with HMAS Supply. Remember, I told you the story of HMS Supply that found. So the HMAS Supply is an oiler class ship that is basically carries fuel, carries supplies, was most recently with the Tonga incident where they had the volcano that went off, and a lot of people passed away, unfortunately. But they were the first on site, so they had all the medevac and all of that sort of thing. Anyway, their namesake is who we're working with, and we supply the crew with a gin every single year. So they their ceremonial port, their port is in Sydney. Their ceremonial port is in Eden, and in Eden, I don't know if you know, but they've got orcas. They've got 25 orcas that used to help the fishermen, and they're still there. And for every year that we do a gin for them, it's named after one of these orcas. So we've got Old Tom,
Tippy's Tail, Old Tom, Bent Tip. Yep.
And it's up to the crew what they want to name the next one. Yeah, right. So Tippy's Tail is being released next week. It's being shipped next week. And it's a brilliant gin.
Yeah,
that's a cool project, and I just brain fart because that's what I do. You could put a barrel of whiskey on the boat and let it go backwards and forwards, and every 6 months pull out 10 bottles and as a collectible. Another 6 months, pull it out, another 10 bottles, another 6 months, and that's no one can do anything like what you could do.
Exactly. So I'll tell you what, you're on the right track. Your head's in the right space. The practicalities of it though are not great. The guys at Bricks, who I'm sure you know, so they are working with HMS Sydney,
right?
And what they have a project of they did a run, and I don't know if it was 2 barrels or 1 barrel. But they've split the barrel, or they've split the product, and kept one in a barrel in Sydney on a rack, and it's just there.
Yep.
And then they've kept the other rum. I don't know what the actual container is, but it's not a cask, because putting a wooden cask in a warship that has the possibility of, the leans you get are going to be exceptional compared to what we've been out in Sydney Harbour, and the risk of cask deterioration is too great. So they were not willing to do that. So I don't know what it is. If it's in plastic, it's in plastic. But that rum has legitimately, there is half the batch in the gunnel of the boat, and it's traveled all around the world on all their missions.
Wow.
And they're going to release it. I don't know if it's 3, 5, 7, whatever it is, but they will release it at some stage. But it will come back, be melded together with the stuff on the rack, and then that will be the HMAS Sydney.
Yeah, right. I think if you've just answered my question. My next question is to whether it would be feasible to use some form of barge or pontoon or whatever as a storage place for your barrels, given that you're limited in land space. But would barrel deterioration be a consideration?
Oh, for sure.
Be a concern with that?
I've actually seen. I mean, I'm sure we've all seen, but I've actually seen with my own eyes, just on the island. We had a barrel that we just forgot about. It was just separate on a piece of Anthony's land, and just the sun, the rain, all of that sort of stuff. It's polar in comparison to a really nice quality cask that's been kept nice. It's been treated carefully. And the way it should be, you wouldn't want to do it. It's too much risk.
Now, Ian's another really interesting question.
We had Ward Harbour on a while ago, and they were just talking about the rust of the hoops and how problematic that was. And I remember Waterford. They remember guys, Waterford, and they'd lost some barrels, or at least one. Just with it was coastal, and just boom, they come apart.
What the iron, the steel around it collapsed, or
rusted through.
I think it's also probably the barrel just shrunk, but the rust on the, because you got to remember these guys, they're racking pallet after pallet after pallet after pallet and standing at 20 high and 20 deep, so they don't actually see what's going on with individual barrels. So they lost one. I know at least one. Yeah. Whereas we intimately know all our barrels, don't we? Yeah, we know them.
This question from Ian is interesting. So the waste of the stills. So
the waste of the stills and draft be utilized as a fuel source to help power things like a desalination unit.
Ian, you're in the industry, and if you're not, you should be.
So he's not in the industry. There you go. But we've got more information. I'll post that later on. But yeah. So there you go. Using waste to help power alternative sources.
Yeah. So we obviously
Mm.
in distilling, when you're distilling in a craft fashion and you're doing it in small batch. So we haven't even spoken about our hardware yet. So we've got a DYE 120 litre still. It's actually modelled, Crafty. You've been to Ed's at OCD. It's his 350 litre scaled down to 120 litre. It's exactly the same.
Right.
So he designed the still. We had twin 5 kilowatt elements, and then of course we needed to go IECX rated. So those two massive things did not fit together. So we've boarded one up and we've stuck an 8 kilowatt IECX in there, and it does the job beautifully.
Well, you would be wow. you'd be one of the exceptions of the rule with your elements, would you not?
I believe so, but there was the amount of scrutiny, I'm not joking, on us from the board to the town planners in Port Macquarie to that then come out, and we need to engage. I'm not guys, Gregor at Menge, so ME Engineering in St. Peters, absolutely fabulous, absolutely fantastic firm. We need to do everything by the book, and the only thing at the moment I'm happy about is that we are so above board as far as safety is concerned. It's insane. So we've got everything in our bund area is IECX rated. So we've got 5 things. So pump, churner, whatever it's called, element, and we've got the fan as well. So and also the ethanol sensor. So the ethanol sensor, whenever it gets to 5 parts per million, switches on, power goes off, extractor fan goes on, and just sucks everything out in a negative fashion. 2 fans go on, one side, one the other, and I think from what I'm hearing, and Crafty, you'd be more across this than me, is certainly with OH&S and the WorkSafe guys, more money going into that from the government. There are going to be a lot more spot inspections in this industry in the coming years, and it's ramping really quickly. So one thing I haven't mentioned is I also Crafty was obviously way too busy with his own business, which is a good thing, and stepped aside on the New South Wales ACT Distillers board, and I actually took Crafty's place and have stepped into a role with marketing and events. So with that, we've been working with or talking about topics like safety, export, marketing. How the hell do we raise our New South Wales and ACT distillers to our government, and how do we address this excise issue that we all know that this country has? So we're not the be all and end all. We're just a tiny little cog. We're working with the ADA, the Australian Distilling Association, and all the other states, but we are the newest. We've only associated this time last year, so we're about a year old. Whereas Tasmania has been around for 15, 17, 18 years or whatever it is. So we've got a little way to go. But look, we're all in this together. And, every single distiller is forging their own path. We've got a beautiful little island. We've got some really unique botanicals. Other guys are in the Byron Bay, and they're working with Aboriginal local communities and various other ones as well. So much opportunity, and what I've really been surprised, but also not surprised. But I'm 20 years out of the tech industry, and I was talking to Luke earlier, going from really hands-on and technical out into finally managing product across Asia Pacific and Japan. And this is a really amazing industry with a whole lot of camaraderie that I think will just only get better. We span across brewing and also distilling. I love brewing industry as well. You can see I'm quite a svelte guy. I do like a beer. But, but I love the inclusiveness of the distilling industry, and also just the learning as well. Even Crafty, you've been in this a lot longer than me, and Todd, just particularly with whiskey, we're only right at the very beginning. We have so much that we can give. Whiskey, again, we're doing. Let me explain this. So Sydney, how hot does Sydney get? And out west in summer, 44, 45, peaks.
Stupid hot.
And talk to me, Crafty, about Oberon, or where are you, Caperty?
Caperty, about 800 meters above sea level.
In winter?
In winter, we'll get down to -5.
So here's the thing. You've got, and generally in Australia, you've got these highs and lows. And what do we know about whiskey and beverages in general? They don't like this. They like this, right? So Lord Howe is, it almost never gets above 30. So it's about 28 degrees, 29 degrees in the peak of summer. And you've got a beautiful sea breeze and it's all great. And in winter, you're looking at about 12.
Bloody tropical.
and so for most of the year, and for most of the year, you're sitting at about, high of 22. Oh, and it's a low of 21, right?
Yeah.
So there's this really tiny temperature variation, which we don't know what it's going to do to our product. This is a really interesting thing. We've sitting on something that where every single barrel that goes down, whether we put it down low or up high, whether we bury it, whether it's next to the door, who knows?
Yeah.
So you're the first distillery. Are you the first distillery on Lord Howe? Have there been others before you at all?
So it's been quite interesting. We were the first brewing company. We weren't the first to brew. The first to brew. We're going through old stories on the island, and some of the islanders have amazing stories and memories, and also the old newspapers and the periodicals that on the island. And there was a lady, I can't remember her name, but she was a black woman from the US, and she was the wife of one of the islanders, and she was known to do a good brew. So what that brew was, I don't know, but she was the brewer on the island for a period of time. And so when we found
with a whaling history, I thought with a whaling history, with all these seamen around, there'd be at least an illicit still somewhere cranking out rum or some form of hooch.
Certainly on the spirit side, there's no evidence that we can find at the moment. And maybe that was because of this government sort of oversight and that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's important to note that 30% of the island roughly are Seventh-day Adventists as well, and there is no alcohol.
Yeah, don't drink.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good. Todd's going.
Yeah. I don't know about that. Can I just say one more thing? And then, Luke, I think we're probably at the stage we need to wrap it up because we've got a few other points on the agenda we need to quickly bash out. I would suggest, Christian, you'd be battered by storms, low fronts, high fronts. So your barometric pressure is going to be a major player on your barrels. And distillers talk about that. We talk about not years, but we talk about seasons, and we talk about barometric pressure. I know where I am. I get a lot of storm fronts, and you can see the barrels hiss and scream. You'd be the same, Tony, wouldn't you? Yeah. So, but you and your exposure to the elements, man, I reckon you're on for a wild ride. It'd be awesome to play some of your stuff as it matures.
Well, I have to say, so when we were taking this shed from a class, far out, I don't even know what it was, class 2. Class 2 is basically a garage shed to a class 8 being a manufacturing site.
Right.
And so it was great as a shed, but then when the structural engineer, of course, which we had to fly out to do the work from Port Macquarie, accommodate him for a night, and then it goes back. So when they're looking at this stuff, they're going, okay, so we get up to Category 2 cyclones on the island at any, so it needs to be rated for that, right? Because these cyclones come down and they just hover, and then there'll become a depression, and then it's all Cat 1, and then a depression, and it can be very miserable for everyone. But absolutely, I'm very interested. And would love to talk more, and I'd love to get my business partner Anthony across it, because obviously we're filling the need right now with white spirits, as most of the industry does. But the long-term game obviously is brown spirits, and we're on our way. The whiskey, I'm not joking, will come. It's this January coming. That is when we put it in, and it's been aging. We've been testing it. It is, I think it's really good. I need to get some back to Ed so that he can have a taste as well.
It won't be as good as his, you know that.
Well, he helped make it, so I'm hoping that it absolutely will be.
Yeah.
He can't turn his nose up at that, can he?
Say that it's as good as his.
No, of course. But yeah, no, and again, we absolutely thank our partners, in brewing and distilling, and Ed has been an amazing support for us. Obviously, it's really difficult for us. We don't have a distillery as such on the mainland, and we rely on our partners and for him to house our still. We get to use his fantastic labeling machine and bottling machine and all of that sort of thing. It's it is great, and he can see our journey as we've been going along, going from very small to now exporting to our first countries. And we're really appreciative to OCD.
Well, that's probably a really good segue into the next.
It's a good segue, absolutely. So on the 18th, so in 2 weeks' time, we are talking to Ed again. Ed was actually our very, very first guest, numero uno, way back in, what was it? 2020?
November 2020. Yeah.
November 13, 2020 was episode
peak COVID.
Yeah. But you know why we did it? I'll tell you the background just quickly, Christian. The reason we kicked it off was because we saw the big spirits companies looking for content over COVID. So they were interviewing Australian distillers, and it was going like this. They were going, right, and your name is Peter Bignell, right, and you're from Belgrove Distillery, okay, and you make whiskey. And it was like, oh, for fuck's sake, we can do better than that. We've got a lot of mates in the industry. Let's pull it together and let's just shoot the shit. And it basically grew from there.
Yeah. It's so good. I've seen the list, and obviously I did a bit of research before coming on. I didn't know how mean you were going to be. But no, I saw the Waiheke guys, and obviously Ed's as well. But there were some great interviews.
Yeah, but it's not interviews; it's shooting the shit. And as I say to people,
sorry.
Meet great characters like this guy.
Oh God! Oh, that's a distant memory, and that's not fair. So I say it's a cross between Graham Norton and Joe Rogan. Sometimes we get deep into the weeds, technical. Other times it's light and fluffy. It's all about the personalities, and everyone who comes on, every single distiller that's been on, we've said this thing's freewheeling. There's no script. We don't know what we're saying, and it just goes in whatever direction it goes. And I think the organic nature is what's appealing. And we're definitely growing. It's to the point we're going to have, drum roll please, Luke.
Drum roll. Oh, you actually want an actual drum roll? Hold on. No, that's going to take me too long to do. Just carry on.
Whiskey Fight Club.
Oh, right.
Oh, wow.
Who's going in that?
Oh, okay.
Lord Howe Island would be a great location for a fight club. Just saying.
Oh, that would be an amazing location.
Yes, I was going to suggest that.
Tickets might be a bit on the pricey side, but apart from that.
Well,
hey, it's tax deductible, guys. Well, for us,
the punters coming along to it, maybe not so much.
So I'll give you the quick rundown, right? The quick rundown, and if we think about, so the first one we're doing is OCD Autocraft Distilling. Fight one is Craftworks Distillery versus Autocraft Distilling.
Oh,
right? And it's knockout round, right? Knockout round. So basically, this is the premise. Ed's one and Julie's one is going to be a little bit different because it's a speakeasy bar, right? So we can't do everything we want to do. The amped up version is in the country, hay bales in a circle, 60, 70 punters sitting on hay bales, a chalked out ring, sawdust on the floor, 2 distillers come out in boxing gear. They're wearing the gowns, right? They're ready. They're ready for a fight, right? They're in the ring. Here we go. This is Whiskey Fight Club, right? This is Whiskey Fight Club. So what happens? There is 4 whiskeys from both distillers. It's served. Drop that, Luke, because I need to show you something. So what happens is everybody gets a taste of a whiskey, right? A dram, or whatever we want to call it in Australia. So it's blind tasting. Everyone knows it's either that distiller or that distiller. That's all it is, right? We taste it. Everyone tastes it. Then we go out the room and we point to everyone and they go, I like it. I don't like it. So then we get a score. Then the 2 distillers fight it out. The same sample is put in front of them, right? So say it's you, Christian, and me, okay? I pick it up and I go, oh, it could be you. No, it's mine. It's mine. Yep, no, it's Craftworks, right? Then the compere will go, okay, what Craftworks is it? And I go, all right, okay, yeah, I think it's, it's I Am. I know it's I Am, right? And then it's disclosed. If you get it right, you're a hero and you pick up a lot more points. If you get it wrong, you're a dickhead and you lose a amount of points. That's round 1. And we go around for a couple of times and do it again, blind. Then we have intermission, quarter of an hour. Everyone goes and gets a beer, a wine, or a whiskey, or whatever. Then we go again, and we go again, have another intermission. We tally it all up, and there's a winner on the night, and it's knockout. So say you win, you have the option to go on to round 2 at another venue. And I'm gone. We have 7 venues lined up for this. And at the Dubbo Winter Whiskey Festival, we are doing an exhibition round. And so it's me versus, and we're still working out who I'm going up against, but the main event is, drum roll please. In the corner, weighing 105 kilos, that's a guess, Mr. Dave Whitaker from Manly Spirits.
Oh.
In the other corner, weighing in at 98 kilos, brand ambassador extraordinaire, Dan the Hunter Reed, Archie Rose. Locked in today.
Wow. Very good one.
Very nice.
What do you think? It's all about entertainment and getting rid of whiskey fuckery. You know, there's no tastings. I've been talking to bourbon, Jim Beam drinkers, and they're going, mate, I'm coming. That's fun. That'll be a fun night.
That will be a fun night. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's what it is. It's so the first rule of Fight Club, you don't talk about Fight Club. The second rule of Fight Club, you don't talk about Fight Club. the first rule of Whiskey Fight Club is you talk about Whiskey Fight Club.
Can you get the fellow that announced Tim Zoo on the ring the other night to call the opponents?
No. So with a bit of luck, we've got Scotty Fitzsimmons, right, who is going to be the MC of the night at Dubbo, and we've got.
I could get Tim Zoo. He's of my alma mater.
All right, our people will talk to your people.
Yeah. And can we charter an aircraft just to sort of reduce the costs just a little bit?
But he's got his own private jet.
Oh, done.
He can afford to fly there himself then.
No, he can fly us all.
Oh, hang on. Are we talking about on Lord Howe?
Yes.
Shit, no.
No, this is but joking aside, we all need a bit of fun, right? And the distillers that I've talked to, they've all just gone, oh, hell yeah. I've road tested this. I had it for 4 years as a concept, and finally we've executed on it under Aussie Craft Distillers Shooting the Shit. And everyone I've talked to about it at markets and cellar door has just gone, take my money. I want to be entertained. And we are here to entertain.
We've got a number of events sort of in the works. The first couple will obviously be Craftworks VOCD. We'll have the exhibition fight at the Dubbo Winter Whiskey Festival, and then obviously we've got more that we can that we'll be lining up right across New South Wales
and Canberra
and
No, not really.
same. Canberra's New South Wales.
We've got an event lined up in Canberra as well, and the Victorians across the border are rather excited. So we've got momentum on this.
Anyway, we're starting to waffle a bit now.
All right, Tony's clearing up.
No, I'm just saying.
He's about to go and clean out the toilets, so I think it's time. It's not so glamorous owning a pub now, is it, Tony?
Let me leave you with one thing in that. Since I've stepped on the board, I've been working with Claudia Ruffley, who is Underground Spirits in Canberra.
Yeah. And
what we are working on, and we've just submitted for funding with the Sydney City Council, we're working with the 24-hour economy. We're working with YCK as well. And what we are looking to do is put on New Zealand, New South Wales ACT event later this year that heroes New South Wales and ACT distillers. It is owned and operated and run and for our New South Wales and ACT distillers.
Wow.
So it is likely to be, we've got a lot of support from both government and also industry. Destination New South Wales is on board. We are coining it spirit level. And please look out for this later. We are waiting on our funding to be approved. And this is an event that we are going to have as an industry, as an association, and something that is run and for us.
Beautiful, mate. Beautiful. And that's happened in a relatively short period of time.
It has. It's come together. I've got some very, very good friends who work in this sort of space, and really looking forward to working with government and all of those others, and really heroing our industry. And driving people out into the region. It's not all about Metro. It's not all about us. We're 600 k's out to sea. It's about getting people out and talking about, and when they're thinking about going to, I don't know, Mudgee, is go to a distillery on the way. Is not just the winery. Go and taste some cheese. It's other things as well. So.
Say goodnight.
Sorry, I'll say goodnight. I'm just going to give a patron a lift home. So
night.
Thanks for the tour.
So we're working with I'm working with the entire association, New South Wales ACT Distillers, and please look out for this later this year. It is for our industry. It is again a lot of camaraderie. Yes, we're competitors, but I think we all carve out our own niche, and there is a space for everyone to play.
Definitely.
That's
well,
good.
so that will be something to look forward to. Seeing more and hearing more about that, and certainly our Whiskey Fight Club. Stay tuned on our socials, Shoot the Shit and Insta. Obviously, jump on our website, and more information will be posted as we have them.
And
Chris?
what about the next Shooting the Shit? Our first ever live.
Yeah. So the next one on the 18th will be at Bar 26, Ed's Bar, with Ed from OCD. Going back to rehash our episode number 1. Hopefully, we'll be better than we were then.
From memory, it didn't go totally to plan. That
Oh,
first
it's
episode.
all right.
Well, look, episode 1, we had no fucking idea what we were doing.
It was in the middle of COVID as well. Come on, guys.
It was.
I vaguely remember we had some technical issues and our guest didn't return.
Yeah, I think that's why it was cut. Yeah, that's probably what was cut short. So,
Hence the reason why we're going there to do it live.
doing it again, do it properly.
But the important thing we need to say is it's live. It's at a bar, so come and enjoy the bar, eat, drink, and be merry. The food is awesome. The bar is awesome. It's table service. The cocktails extraordinaire. Flynn's on the bar, and potentially we're gonna book the whole place out. So come and join us. 18th. Shortly, we're going to be putting it out to confirm you need to book with the bar to make sure we know what numbers and who's coming. But it's going to be, I reckon, 50. I reckon we could pack it out. I reckon it could be a packed out night.
I think you'll pack it out, mate. I'm just disappointed that I won't be here. I'm going to be in Fiji. And I'm so close. I'm on the next suburb. So yes, we'll have to do it next
I
time.
think you're about to say I'm so close to cancelling my Fiji trip just so I can be there.
No, we are not cancelling the Fiji trip.
Just to hang shit on Ed. We need to hang shit on Ed. I mean, that's what this is all about. And we're calling the
So
episode.
when are you back from Fiji? Because we haven't actually booked this yet. So I don't know, the 18th
I'm back. Well, you've got Anzac Day in there and all that sort of thing. So it's probably, if you don't do it then, it's probably going to be May. I'm thinking the Fight Club is going to be.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted on Fight Club when that comes about. Definitely that'll probably be.
Let's be around the 9th, maybe.
Fight Club is in May. OCD Fight Club is in May.
Yeah.
OCD versus Craftworks. In June, we've got Dubbo Winter Whiskey Festival. That's the exhibition match, Whiskey Fight Club. And probably August, we'll have the first country Fight Club. I would suggest.
There's a lot.
Do you have some dates, Crafty, for Fight Club to give to Ed?
Say again?
So we'd have the 9th or the 23rd of May.
Okay, I talked to Julie today and Ed, and I said, whatever we have in Shooting the Shit, the opposite of that, we can do it on Thursday.
So the 9th or the 23rd.
Second billing.
I gathered that.
Anyway, let's wrap it up. Thank you all for joining us. Christian, thank you for educating us on the fascinating history, flora and fauna, and challenges.
A beautiful story.
With working on Lord Howe Island. Definitely, I think that's another place I'd like to do on our road trip of Australian distilleries.
We look forward to our live Lord Howe Island trip.
Everything's on Elon's network now, so we're not dealing with NBN Skymaster. So the link will be strong, and I think the offer is out there. You are welcome.
Awesome. I've posted a number of links to your various enterprises this evening, as I've found. So people can find the various links in the chat. But the main one of what we're talking about this evening, lhidistillingco.com.au. Obviously, jump on there, join the mailing list. I assume that's the best place to get access to the new releases and early information about what's happening.
Absolutely.
The subscribe is just down the bottom there. Jump on the socials. All the links are on the website there. Christian, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us.
That was awesome.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking interest in a small business. We're all trying to carve out our own little piece in this country, and we really appreciate it. Our business really appreciates it. So thank you very much.
We're just happy to be involved. All right, everyone. Thank you so much.
I'll see you at the Waratahs next game.
Well, with all that sweet advertising money you've been saving.
All right.
Thank you all. See you in 2 weeks' time. Cheers.
Sponsors.
See you.